communicates a visual message to those who see it. It also communicates a story, whether implied or clearly stated. Nevertheless, telling a story is important to create a lasting impression, making it more memorable than all the others out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to have with us Ms. Ritu Bhatia, who will take us through the design processes in planning a hotel and how design can tell a story. May I kindly request Dr. Leena N. Fouquet to share a few words of introduction about Ms. Rita Bhatia. Over to Dr. Leena.
Thank you, Shamaya. Good morning to everyone. I quote, "Good design enlarges life and inspires dreams. It is created from an assemblage of adventures, both personal and collective, to paint a visual picture of our experience." Unquote, Mary Alice Palmer. With this thought in mind, we move to our next topic, design processes in planning a hotel and how design can tell a story. Unlike any other industry, hotels rely almost entirely on aesthetics. 10 years ago, design and style were unique, selling proposition, and an advantage nowadays, it's a minimum requirement to attract a cybernetic host, modern guests, right? So this is a topic which is extremely close to my heart, and I'm pleased to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Ritu Bhatia Kler, a passionate designer and traveler who started her career at the iconic Taj Mahal Hotel, Delhi. Total Integrated Design India Private Limited was incorporated in 1995, of which she is currently the managing director. She has 25 years of experience and has worked with various national and international hotel brands. To name a few, Taj, ITC Fortune, Marriott, Hilton, and Shangri-La. Besides hotels, the design expertise extends to clubhouses, corporate offices, private residences, retail, and much more. She enjoys traveling, writing, and reading, and believes in promoting local artisans and keeping the proud Indian heritage alive for the future generations. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ms. Ritu. Ritu, over to you.
Morning, Dr. Leena. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today to hear my session. I have been associated with hotels all my life, along with the introduction that Dr. Leena gave. I have also I'm the daughter of a hotelier, and so I have actually grown up in hotels as well. So seen all sides of the hotels. And that thankfully has brought me also to the exposure of designing hotels along with my team for the last 25 years. And as Dr. Leena said, when we go to the hotels, the aesthetics is very important. And as guests, as managers of the hotels, many of you students are the future employees and managers of hotels. When you enter, when you work there, you will see the end product. You will see a beautiful space with art and accessories, which is well maintained by the housekeeping department, by all the various departments, by the chief engineer. So, so when we see that, when we experience it at guests, we get to enjoy what is already there. But what actually goes into creating that beautiful space? What actually goes into the planning? I'd like to quote the 34th US President General Dwight Eisenhower, who said, "In preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable." Unquote. Well, as designers, our plans are not useless. The AutoCAD plans are very, very important and part of the process. But let's talk about the planning. That is what I would like to share today, and I would just open my slides now. So when we talk about the planning, the whole process of building a hotel, I would like to take the example of building a greenfield hotel, which means that it is right from scratch. There is nothing there but a plot of land. And we have the owner who has a dream, who has a wish list. So in order for the owner to start, he has to do a feasibility study, either with a consultant, such as Hotel Evate or HVS or an independent consultant, who would help him do a feasibility study on the best category of the hotel. What should the brand be? What should the size be? The number of rooms, the categories of the rooms, the type of F&B cuisine that should come into the hotel. How large should the banquet halls be? What is the target market? Who are the guests who are going to visit the hotel? Is it purely a business function? Is it in a business hub? Is it in a city or a place where you also have tourist travelers? For example, even a metropolitan like Delhi, you have huge number of tourists coming to Delhi or going through Delhi. You have business travelers who also are tourists because from Delhi they may want to go and see Agra or they may want to go and see Jaipur. So in order
Ritu?
to reach, yes.
Yeah, I think your slides are not seen.
Okay, I'm sorry. I probably didn't press share. Just give me a second. Actually, I was anyway on the first slide.
Yes.
Okay, great. So building a greenfield hotel. So anyway, I was on this slide. So as I was saying, the owner has to do a feasibility study. The next step, once he has got the feasibility report, he has to decide if he is running it himself, if he's already an independent owner, or if he wishes to have his own brand, or would he like to tie up with a management company, a hotel operator, and would he like to give them management or a franchise? Right? And if he's going with a brand, then to start deciding the category of the brand. Is it a 3, 4, or 5-star hotel, and which brand category that comes in? So is it visible now, the points?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So once that is decided, the owner would then hire the team. So the team of consultants, an architect who has the experience of building a hotel. And first and foremost, along with the architect, he should hire the facility planner, the interior designer, and a project management team to assist him in the process of having of building the hotel and coordinating with the consultants, or he may have his own project team. And if there is an operator brand involved, then they would do a kickoff meeting once the team is on board. And this kickoff meeting is as important for the owner as well as for the consultants and the owner's team, the project management team. So the operator would actually introduce them to the brand guidelines. And of course, there is huge documentation that comes with it. But just to touch upon some of the aspects of the guidelines, they would discuss the technical information. They would brief the team on fire and life safety issues, which is paramount in a hotel. The type of operating equipments that they expect to come into the hotel so that the quality is maintained. The design guidelines. Each brand has certain guidelines which they would like the designers and the people involved to adhere to. The building facade and the design standards for the building facade. Signage location and style. This is also important. We take for granted that, we see the name on top of a hotel, but there's an actual planning which goes into putting up the signage and where it's located. So if you're near a highway, can it be located from the flyover? If you're in between buildings, how would people see the signage of the hotel? And finally, of course, the operating standards. So part of the team, besides the architect and interior designer and facility planner, there's actually a huge team that goes into the process that the owner needs to hire and coordinate with. this is, of course, not in any particular order, but you have the architect, interior designer, landscape consultant. The landscape consultant's role and importance of the extent of his role would depend on the type of hotel. Is it a city hotel? Is it a resort? You have AV and acoustic who help in the planning in the banquet halls. Facility planner who is very important planning the back of house and kitchen. You have the lighting consultant, again, signage, graphic, structural consultant who comes in along with the architect, uniform designer, a Vastu consultant. If the owner is particular about Vastu, then a Vastu consultant should come in along with the architect. And then, of course, the owner's representative or the GM, if the owner is running it himself, the GM should come in much earlier to understand the whole process. A lead consultant. Now, this is something which has been relatively new in the last, I would say, maybe 5 to 8 years. If the owner is looking at a green building or having a green certificate or a platinum LEED certificate, similar to what ITC does, then he should actually involve a lead consultant who would also guide the architect and the interior designer into the planning in their design in order that the building gets that certification. As I said earlier, the project management consultant actually helps the owner coordinate all the consultants in the entire process. So the project management consultant plays a very important role. The security consultant, also very important today. A procurement agency. A procurement agency actually assists the procurement team. So if the owner has his own procurement manager, procurement agency would actually assist the owner and the procurement manager to work within a budget, to understand a designer's designs and wish list, especially in furniture, operating equipments, and help in the process to make it easier to adhere to also the timelines by when all the equipment and the materials have to come in. So today there are many procurement agencies, but I think in India, they are not used as much. It would be good that people use procurement agencies more, since they have a lot of professional knowledge and experience to bring to the table. And of course, the MEP consultant who has to come in the beginning along with the architect and the interior designer. So the process. Building a hotel is an integrated process where all the stakeholders play an important role till the completion. The interior design process. So today, of course, I will spend more time on the interior design process. The architect first creates, the zoning plan and the concept to get the brand and owner's approval. Just give me a moment. Yes, so the architect actually kickstarts the whole process and comes up with a certain zoning plan. The interior designer then understands that plan along with the operator's brief or the owner's brief and starts fine-tuning the layout along with other consultants such as the facility planner and the landscape designer. So we integrate the architect's plan and the spaces to create the sizes, the entry-exit points, the scanner locations at the entrance, the ramp coming up, security checkpoints, heights, columns. Many times when the architect has planned a space along with the structural designer, they have to, of course, plan the building with the right column size and to maintain the structure. And as interior designers, if we come in late or if we come in once the building is up, there are times that we look at a column and we say, I just wish I could move that column away, or I would have liked the column to be a little smaller, or I would have liked the column maybe to be round instead of square. So if we come in late, then we can't do anything. We become magicians, and we actually use our interior design skills to try and make the column disappear or blend it into the interiors the best we can. So the earlier we come in, we can actually work with the architect to, tweak the column size a bit or move it a bit so that it doesn't obstruct probably the reception counter, for example. So once the plans are frozen, they go for municipal approval. Every city and state has the municipal authorities, and this process takes a few months. So while this is on, and the interior designers can actually start planning the design concept and story. So these few months are actually very, very crucial for designers to have time to do their research, to weave the story. And even the architect at that stage is also, in the process of fine-tuning his design and his building drawings. So what is the phase of work in the interior design when our process starts? We have the layout stage. So the interior designer starts the fine-tuning the layout along with other consultants. We research and plan to develop the concept, and we first present it through reference imagery. We prepare 3D renderings, sketches, material palettes, and mood board to show our design. And I will be running you through some examples after this. And then we prepare our technical drawings for the MEP consultants to give their input. So when you enter a hotel, and we may not look up at the ceiling, or we may not really notice the ceiling unless there's a beautiful chandelier there. And of course, even we would probably appreciate the chandelier, but there is a lot that goes into the ceiling. And so this stage with the MEP consultant, what we call as a coordinated MEP drawing, is very, very important, because we work with the fire and life safety issues of the sprinklers, the smoke detectors. We put in the sound speakers. We work with the HVAC for the air-conditioned grills, so that it merges with the design and the ceiling. And at times in banquet halls, the brand actually wants a sort of a hook, which is not really visible, but the hook actually helps in functions to hang props. So all these aspects go into planning the ceiling, and of course the chandelier and the lighting, which is very, very important. So the final drawings go for what we call a tender process, along with the bill of quantity and the material specification booklet. The bill of quantity is also important in order for us to reach the cost of the building of the hotel for the interiors, and something which of course every owner wishes to know. And then we have the good for construction drawings for the contractor to start work. And we have something called a mock-up review. So along this process, we build a mock-up along with, of course, the owner and the other consultants, and we review the mock-up so that the rollout of the procurement can happen in a timely manner. Because if you're looking at 200, 300, 400 rooms, whatever is decided in the mock-up actually has to be rolled out for that number of rooms, and you need lead time for certain items. And of course, the site visits during the execution, the artwork planning, mock-up with artists and sculptures. We actually put a lot of emphasis on art, working with local artisans, working with various consultants. If you're looking at huge sculptures, they need time to also come up with their designs and make mock-ups. So this process happens alongside while the hotel is being built. And of course, finally, the placement and handover when the hotel is ready. 6 months before it's ready, the operating team moves in, and some of you may in future be part of that operating process, which is actually very interesting and exciting times. There's a lot of energy with the team, because they're going through training, they're going through preparing for a new hotel which is about to open. And if I visit during that time, the excitement is actually contagious. And something which has somehow, I feel, got lost along the way, but I feel that the brands do it, some of the brands. It's called post-occupation briefing. So when the HODs come in and the GMs come in, it's actually good to get a briefing from the interior designer as to what the concept is. Because as you can see, from point 1 to point 10, it's actually a 2 to 3 year process. Sometimes even it has gone to 5 years. So this process of us working with an entire team, there's an entire story which goes in, and it's good for the team to know that story, the design story, to know what went into the thought process, so that the end product that they see, they understand that, and to get the layouts of the furniture. So when housekeeping is cleaning and the furniture is moved, they can actually put it back as what is planned. So this post-occupation briefing, I think, is a very important phase as well. The owner's wish list. So we get, of course, the owner's brief, much more than just these points. But I have put together what I feel is generic for every owner and very important for every owner. The cost, of course, paramount to design and execute a great design within a proposed budget. Energy efficiency, to use energy efficiency lights yet create ambience. Maintenance-friendly materials. Now, we often hear the words maintenance-free, but I believe there's nothing which is maintenance-free. Everything has to be maintained. And as we know, in today's time, it's gone to another level that it also has to be sanitized. So we would propose a maintenance-friendly material, which means that it's easier and faster for housekeeping to maintain it and to clean it. But nothing is free of that, so it's maintenance friendly. New ideas and trends. So part of our research, we're always looking at what is new in materials, what is new in trends, what are new ideas, colors. So all that goes in this. Understanding the psychology of the Indian guest. Of course, you have a mix of foreign guests as well, but when I say understanding the psychology of the Indian guests, because even the local people visit the hotel to dine at the restaurants, to use the spa, to have health club membership, to go to the banquet hotels. So the guest is also, the people who are staying around, the residents who are staying around. And what is amazing and lovely about our country is that, it's every state, every city is different and has certain nuances and different cultural aspects. So when we design, we need to understand that. And understanding the competition. So it's very important, and this of course would be done in a feasibility study for the owner to understand the competition of other hotel brands from a price point and from knowing the what are the other options, whether it's banqueting size, whether it's F&B, whether it's rooms, the type of categories. And we too, as designers, would like to know what is the competition around so that we can come up with something new, and also to understand the hotel's positioning. Because just remember, when we are designing, we are not just designing for the brand, we're not just designing for the owner, we're designing for the guest who's actually going to use the hotel. So research, what goes into this research? Knowing your surroundings, use of the historical, cultural, social aspects which go into design, understanding the USP of the state or location. There could be something very interesting about that city, or something that city is well known for. For example, Nagpur is well known for oranges, and it's the center point of our country. And this is something I got to know when we actually went to Nagpur and were building a banquet hall there. So, each city would have something interesting. And sometimes when you're living there, it may get lost in the, you take for granted where you live. And so when we research, we actually come up with interesting things which we may not even have otherwise known about the city. Hotel target markets today is not just about a business traveler or a resort location. Business travelers travel with their families. Two-tier cities are coming up for business. There are places where there are factories, but they're not have good hotels. There are religious sites which need more hotels. So who are the people who are coming there? And the traveler today would be mixed. And even if we go on a holiday, we're all now working, and we need to be in touch, and we're always carrying our mobile or our laptop or our tablet. So we're not just designing for a silo reason, but for a much larger use of the traveler. Local norms, for example, one thing which is there and different for every state in our country, the rules for the bar, when the bar shuts, or if a bar needs to be enclosed, or if just the bottle, cabinets needs to be closed of the liquor. What are the, sometimes the entire bar needs to be lockable, or, in a different sort of, not right in the lobby merged. So we need to understand that when we're designing. Competition, as I mentioned earlier, location-centric, what are the surrounding options for the guest? So this is different from competition. This is if a hotel is part of a mixed-use development, and which means it's part of a mall, for example. Now, the guest can actually go to the mall and has a choice of restaurants, because malls today, the restaurants will be open till at least 11 o'clock. So I would not then give 3 restaurants for that hotel. I would probably do one nice all-day dining. Or if they're in a city like, for example, Bangalore, you have so much of F&B. So the F&B that is being designed, are we going to compete with the F&B outside? Are we going to design something very unique, like a Michelin star restaurant in the hotel to attract the crowd? So what is the location that the hotel is also going to compete with? But if I'm in a location which is, for example, like I said, a 2-tier city where you don't actually have any F&B around, or for example, when we designed the Keys Hotel in Kochi, which was slightly outside from the city at that time, and there was nothing in the surrounding, and a guest would have to travel maybe half an hour back to the city. So then you create things for the guests to do. We created a pool table, a PlayStation. We actually created a whole recreation zone so that the bar became not just a place to drink and but a place to socialize, and an activity place in the hotel for the guests as well. And what are the latest materials? So these are the things we also research into when we're designing for the hotel. What are the design trends in hospitality? Residential feel, a home away from home, smart casual. Today, hotels are no longer, formal to that extent. Of course, there will be places which are formal, but maybe like a particular fine dining restaurant. But mostly hotels have a more comfortable feel and want their guests to actually be comfortable entering the space. Connecting guests to spaces, so less of walls, more of free-flowing spaces. Multi-use of spaces, so that they can be revenue-generating spaces for the hotel and the owner. And telling a story. Local connect and culture, as what I'd said earlier. How is the hotel connecting and telling the guest? Even if I travel to a city in India, I want to know a bit about the city. I'm there for probably one night, and I'm going for meetings. So I would love to know about the city in that short time. So can the hotel introduce me to some aspect, cultural aspect of that city in that few hours that I'm staying at the hotel? Eclectic furniture. So it's no longer about being only symmetrical. Again, it depends on the brand, it depends on the star category of the hotel, but can the design be a bit fun and have eclectic furniture? Can we have asymmetrical elements? And sustainability, very important. There are many materials today which help in sustainability. Use of technology. So use of technology, every guest has their gadgets, and therefore the guest is using technology, but the hotel should also help the guest in using that technology. And I will talk about that more later. Biophilic design, which also comes with sustainability. Biophilic design is the use of plants in a space, but you can't have a lot of landscape inside the hotel. So it's actually about using the feel of nature in the design elements, in patterns, in materials, in colors, which speak of nature. So biophilic design is very trendy today. Guest comforts. Now, as we said, the overall aesthetic and interior design play a role in the ambience of making the guest comfortable. And as Dr. Lina said, the visual aspect is very important in today's time. But what are the guest comforts, which I would say are at the top of the mind and which I would say are very, very critical to keep in mind while designing? And that is good lighting, ease of accessing switch points and sufficient plug points with universal sockets, USB points by the bedside. These are in the room, but today we even plan the plug points in the all-day dining in the restaurant as discreetly as we can, so that if a guest, while having breakfast or a meal, wishes to charge their phone or their tablet, they can do so. Blackout curtains, so that if a guest flies in early hours of the morning, they can have the blackout curtains and have the room in total darkness to sleep even in the daytime. Night light, so that the guest who gets up in the middle of the night, can find their way to the bathroom and doesn't disturb the other guest in the room. Comfortable mattress. I think a guest remembers the hotel where they had the best sleep. I know I definitely feel that's very important, that, when you're traveling, you may have only a few hours, or you might be tense about an important presentation the next day. You need to have a very good sleep, and that is important. Bathroom sanitary fixtures, a lot of times guests don't have more than 2 hours in the room or 3 hours in the room. So they actually spend more time in the bathroom. And thankfully, this is something which is a demand now from operators and owners. And some of the questions we get right in the beginning is, how are you going to design my bathroom? Are you going to have glass? Is there going to be a wall? What is the size of the bathroom? So the bathroom today has got a lot of attention, and we are also very happy about that. The sanitary fixtures, the water floor, non-slip materials, and again, good lighting. And full-length mirror, because any traveler, any of us want to get ready. We want to see ourselves. Ideally, we would love to have space for a dresser. If the size of the room, or in a resort, we have done this in a city hotel actually. The first one was in the Four Points in Jaipur, where we actually gave a dresser unit space in the room in a business hotel, and of course, but if nothing else, a full length mirror is very important. So now I will actually go to case studies. I will take you through 2 of our projects which are work in progress, and I will then show you our completed projects. So this is an interior design concept for a holiday coming up in Bulandpur, which is New Chandigarh, which is a new business hub which is coming up. The interior design philosophy is segregated in 3 primary layers. So what I'm also doing is taking you through the design story and to show you how we come up in the design story. So the base layer, drawing inspiration from the master architect Le Corbusier's body of work in Chandigarh. As you know, Chandigarh has very stringent rules about how their buildings have to be designed and the colors as well. So we have taken inspiration from the fenestration and the shading devices and the muted bare color tones and the shape roof profiles. So this is actually what we're calling the base layer. The contrast layer comes up with the contemporary adaptation of local texture, the weave patterns in the form of upholstery, flooring, wall paneling. And the dynamic layer, the vibrant, rich colors and motifs of the 2 states of Punjab and Haryana will play a vital role, which will bring in freshness, cheerful, and appeal to both the leisure and the business traveler. So these aspects and this research helps us in planning the color scheme. And it also, along with the brand standard, which in this case, we have to use teal in some ways, right? And the local aspects. So when we design in understanding the local aspects, we don't, we try not to take it literally, but how are we inspired and bring that into the design space. So these are some images of Le Corbusier's building work and the embroidery of Punjab, and of course the patterns of the which is done on the mud hut in the villages. So these are the images. So if you see the top layer, it's actually what we have taken as inspiration for the base layer. The second is the contrast layer, and you can see the lady designing the patterns on the mud hut. And a lot of these may be lost in time because, unfortunately in cities we have commercial buildings, but we want to retain our culture and our heritage, and how do we remember that, and that's how design can actually tell the story in the artwork and the patterns. And the dynamic layer, which is the colors and the wonderful colors that we get from the various aspects in Punjab and Haryana. So these are the reference images. What you're also seeing is our stage 2 of the concept presentation, which I had said earlier about the concept design stage, when we present the 3Ds and the material boards and the material palettes. So currently we have reference images in order to show the intent of the color scheme. And this is what we call as a mood board or a color palette. And where you see the headboard, I'm not sure if you can see can you see my cursor? Is that visible, the cursor?
Yes, Ritu. Yes.
Okay, great. So the imprints of the design which go on mud huts. So we've taken that inspiration to create a textured paint on the headboard, which is our featured wall. You'll see the rug on the left bottom, which is again inspiration of different patterns of pulkari work and different embroideries. And again, on the right bottom, the inspiration of the pulkari work. On the top here, you'll see a wardrobe with this black and white pattern, which comes from the jute work, and I'll talk about that more later. And again, the color palette. So even when you're choosing a color palette, when designing or when planning, it's good to have a base color which is more neutral, and then add on layers of accents so that they come up and are lively, and you don't have too many colors clashing. So that is a good way to start in planning your colors. This is a layout, what you're seeing of a room. And of course, when you enter the vestibule, on the right, you have the bathroom. On the left, you have the wardrobe and the minibar. And as you enter the room, you have a ledge with a table. The round circle is a writing desk, and also works as a table where the guests can have their meal. Now, a lot of times we traditionally have a writing desk against a wall or against a window in a rectangular form, but I think in the last few years we are using a table which has a height of a dining table, and it can be done in different ways, and of course size permitting. It depends on the room size, so that it can be a multi-use space for the guest. And the chair could actually be a task chair, or it could be a comfortable chair which can be pulled up to the table or used if there is another person in the room. And over here we had space, so we could do a chaise lounge, which is a more relaxing, not a chair, but relaxing sofa space for a guest, can actually fit 2 people as well. And if you see these side tables, number 9 on either side of the bed, we've done it asymmetrical, so they're not the same shape, bring some interest into the room. And then we have an interesting rug with the different patterns of taking the inspiration from the local culture. Over here, this is what we call a 3D view, and you get to see a visual of what the room is proposed and what we aim for the room to look like. And at the back of the headboard, you see the pattern which can be done by Asian paints of the local technique. And the patterns also come on the rugs and on the one rug and on the cushions. And what I feel is, earlier when we used to design, I would say 20 years ago, we had bed covers and more cushions and lovely runners on the bed. And we used to bring in the patterns through that and bring in, a lot of elements through that. But unfortunately, now we mostly see white duvets and white pillows, unless, of course, it's a 5-star deluxe. But up to a 4-star business category, it's mostly white duvets and white cushions. So it actually makes it more challenging for us as designers to bring in those colors and patterns as well. This is an elevation where when you enter the vestibule, you're looking at the wardrobe and the mini bar. And I've shown this to show how we have brought in the jute element. It could be done with jute or with MDF with a perforation. So in the handle of the over here, this is the handle. So we would like to bring the pattern here and in the mini bar. And also going forward, I will show that to you in the washroom as well. This is the color palette for the washroom, where it's a neutral color floor tile and wall tile, and the splash of teal. As I said, we have to bring that in. So the splash of teal in the mosaic. And this is a visual of the washroom. So we have the teal. So again, that's what we call an accent, which comes in, and the counter has the perforation and the element tying back with the wardrobe. So these are elements which tie back the space, and the similar texture that's used on the headboard, we also propose to use at the top level above the toilet and the counter over here. And going to the corridor and how we take the story through. In the corridor, we have a mix of carpet and hard flooring. And what you see here, again, we have taken the signage in an interesting way, which is, one, it's more visible as you walk down the corridor, and you see the grid. So taking the grid patterns which you see in the buildings around in Chandigarh, we have taken that in the signage as well. And in the carpet, you see the patterns which come in again from the fabric and pulkari work and flow through. So that is how we have taken the inspiration in the carpet. And in the we propose to do artwork. So taking the pulkari patterns in an abstract way and creating an art which can be put on the shaft doors in the corridor. So as the guest walks through, they are getting a story as they're walking through. And of course, while I will not go into the public areas here, but it also starts from the public area, so that when the guest goes through the hotel, they are seeing the whole storyline. I will now take you to the second case study, which is the Novotel Chittagong. So this is a hotel we are designing in Novotel, in Chittagong in Bangladesh, which is going to be run by the Novotel brand. Now, the Novotel brand is a 4-star hotel and has guidelines in their design, and their rooms have a palette which is almost like a set design which an owner can actually pick up and just say that, okay, this is the design he's going to build. But the owner that we are working with is going to be is actually very interested in promoting the local art and culture and artisans from Bangladesh. So we have used a local connect, and we had to go there and do that research. You'll see multi-use of spaces and how it tells a story. I would just like you to spend a few seconds observing this slide. So Chittagong is a port, and as on date, there are not many hotels there. There are up and coming. What you see on the right, the photograph, is what Chittagong is. It's the ships come in. They also have a lot of the iron of the ships, I believe, are broken down there for reuse. And you have the water, and you have mangroves around. And of course, with the sea, you have the fishermen and you have fish, right? So just keep this image in your mind. You also have the Jamdani weave, which is very famous in that region and in Bangladesh. And these are patterns which we see in Bangladesh. So what we have done, before I go to that, we have taken this as an integral part of the story, the design story. We have created, we are in the process of creating a backdrop for the reception. keeping in mind the Jamdani weave, keeping in mind fish is very important in Chittagong and in any seaport. So the fish is the art behind the reception, and the fish is made in a weave with Jamdani patterns. And when we presented this, we were also told by the brand that you have to have the LCD screens at the back of the reception, where Novotel would, of course, run their hotel events and information. So we put that in as well. And we plan to have it in staggered. So it's actually not going to be just one straight artwork over like this. It's actually going to be staggered because a fish swims and a fish flows through water. And that is how we want that to appear. This is a layout of the space. So as we said, so certain of these elements, of course, are from the brand standard in the terms that I use. As you can see, so this space of the lobby, there are no walls, but each space has a function and has a purpose for the guest, and is also given as and is also defined by its interior elements and furniture and colors. So we have, when you enter, I'll spend a little more time here, then I think I'll speed up after that. So this is what they call the welcome and stay, where the guest actually sits before going to the reception, or maybe waiting for the turn for the reception over here. And these lines which you see over here are actually the backdrop of the design which I showed you earlier with the fish. And we have a gourmet deli at the back, and then which is, of course, a cafe, and it could be a breakfast place if one doesn't want to eat in the gourmet in the all-day dining. You could meet your friends here and have coffee, have bakery items. And then on this part on the right is actually what Accor calls meet and work, where you can actually come with your laptop. There will be charging points. If you want to have a little more business meeting, you could sit here in the lobby. And on the extreme left here is actually the play and relax area, where families can come and sit, or you could socialize in the evenings, and they actually have a small PlayStation or a space for the children, and they call it the kids zone. And when you go towards the left, you're actually going towards the lifts and then towards the banquet halls. So now what you're seeing is the lobby view, the reception with the backdrop. You're seeing the different zones. As I said, the meet and greet area, the workspace, and the deli at the back. We've continued the storyline of the Jamdani weave in the soffit, which is this fascia. So when you enter, you will see this drop, which is coming architecturally in the space. And instead of a blank wall, we of course want the guests to see something interesting. So these patterns are actually the Jamdani weave, which could be done in different materials. So when we take the story through, we would actually take it through different materials. And as you can see, the flooring is neutral. So the flooring tiles is kept neutral so that the attention can go to the colors in different ways.
Ritu, we can't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Just lost for two minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So this is the cafe deli, and of course you can see the soffit continuing, and the pattern continues in a subtle way. The Jamdani weave continues because we want to create the storyline in a subtle way and not over design it. This is the family area or the recreation area, and on the left you will see a black pattern with lines. So this is where we bring in the story of the mangrove. As if you remember when I told you about the imagery, right? There are a lot of mangroves there in the waterscape. So this inspiration from the mangrove then continues as you walk towards the lift. This continues on this wall and it goes into the lift, and it's at the backdrop of the lift. So that is how we've brought in the mangrove design element. And the perforations in the ceiling are also inspiration of the Jamdani weaves, but in a subtle way, and also help in the lighting. So instead of having a chandelier, we have brought in these light spots in the space. We then go to the banquet hall and the pre-function area. So on the left is a pre-function, and on the right, of course, is the banquet hall, which is also divisible. And one thing very interesting here is a room which we're calling the bridal room, which is over here in the corner where you see number 11. This is an interesting space which I think very few hotels actually bring it in, but some are bringing it in. We're currently doing it in another project of ours in Trichy. And it's a room where, I mean, not necessarily the bride, it could be a celebrity who might want to wait before they come in to a performance, or a VIP who needs to probably come in at a certain time of a conference. So it's a space which is close to the hall, at the same time private and secure. So that is something which I think is very interesting, which probably more of it should be planned in hotels. This is the banquet hall. So I'm actually just going to run you through how we've used the story elements. We've run a screen here. As you know, in pre-function, we don't do too much of partitioning because it needs to be multi-use of space. I spoke about columns. This space, these two large blocks in gray are actually columns, which we have around that. We've created a design, and Accor wanted a coffee station. So we've actually created what you see over here is where the hotel can permanently keep the elements for the coffee station. So they don't have to bring in everything, and it's already kept there before the function. And the patterns come in through on the door and in the curtains, which we have proposed here, because on the right, it's all glass, which actually goes out into the lawn. We now go to the all-day dining space. I'm not sure how clear the layout is, but basically this is a very large all-day dining of around 6,000 square feet. So we partitioned it on the left. It's usually during breakfast that a space is very busy, and during lunch or maybe dinner may not be so busy. So we've actually created partitions here on the left where you can actually enclose the space, and it also works as a private dining space during non-busy hours where people can actually ask for this space to have their parties or have a meal separately. And on the right is a specialty cafe, which the owner wanted to use only as dinner for now. So again, we have created sliding doors. If breakfast is very busy, you can actually open up the entire space. Or if you have a conference and you know it's going to be full during lunchtime, you can open up the entire space. This is the all-day dining. So a restaurant design can be different from the rest of the hotel, because a restaurant can be planned based on the cuisine. It can be planned based on a certain theme. It can be leased out, and the brand of the F&B outlet can plan it. So here, of course, it'll be run by the hotel. We've kept, again, very neutral tones, and the design story actually just comes in the hood over here. There's glass around the hood and over the deli counters, and another aspect where it's taken through film to continue the pattern in the all-day dining. And this is a view, if you can see this, the lined sort of pattern over here is actually sliding doors, which then connect to the all-day dining space. And this is the specialty cafe, which can be used at different hours. Quickly running you through the room, how we've taken the storyline. So we've taken the pattern of the Jamdani weave into the carpet, and of course it will be developed by the carpet vendor, which you can see here. And this is the view. So it will actually, come through in the carpet pattern, and otherwise the design of the room is kept keeping in mind certain Novotel brand standards. At the back of the headboard is actually a photograph done by a famous photographer who's actually a commercial pilot from Bangladesh. And this is actually an aerial view of boats in the water, which is in a certain pattern. So we have given it as an idea. Generally, when we propose the artwork, which is going to be photographs, then the owner has to commission a photographer or buy the photos from certain stock and then that is developed and used. So these are things we work with, as I said, during that stage when construction is on. We work with the owner, and at TID, every single project, artwork in the rooms is done differently, because there is today so much, and not only today, I think it's something we have been doing right from the start of our company 25 years ago. How do you bring in art in a different way, so that it's not just the art piece that is unique, but the method of framing, the method of putting up that art, which is different. And similarly, in the corridors, the corridor carpet tells the story of the Jamdani weave, and in the panels, we take that through. So just to summarize, as I'd said right in the beginning, when you saw that image, the port, the sea, the fish, and the Jamdani weave tie the story through. What is also interesting, and I think, which is something which the students and the future hoteliers can also take through going forward, is the story doesn't only have to stop in design and materials. It can actually go through, in menu cards, in graphics, in products. Some brands, for example, Andaz, actually take the design elements and the story through in the products, in restaurants, in the room. They even sell them to the guest who might want a souvenir while traveling. So these are aspects which can actually take the story through right across in operations, and creates a memory for the guest. And that is why coming back to post occupation briefing is very important, so that anyone who's part of running the hotel understands the design story and creates a story for the traveler going through. And many times, especially foreigners, they love to know things about the city and the country. And while they're having breakfast, they're talking to, the hotel staff who are there. They may be talking to you while they're having their breakfast. They may have time at the checkout. They're talking to you at that time. Tell them about your city, tell them about the story, tell them about how the design came about. And they may not have time to spend in the city, but those few minutes can actually be a memory for them as well. So coming to now the case studies of projects which we have completed, in which I will talk about how the design trends have been used, and also again where the stories have come about. The Mercure on Stevens Road is actually done by our partners in Singapore, but I wanted to show this to you. It was actually an Ibis, which is a budget hotel, and that was designed by our Singapore team as well, and then renovated to be a Mercure and became a combo hotel with the Novotel. So you have the Novotel and the Mercure together. Now, an Ibis has a different room, has a set room size of 18 square meters. A Mercure has a larger room, but we could not bring down the building. We had to retain the room size and the structure. So what did we do with that room size? Firstly, in this, we'll show you multi-use of spaces, revenue generating, how a space is revenue generating, the Singapore story, guest room style, and a combo hotel, which is, so the advantage of a combo hotel is it shares back of house and recreational resources. So in this case, the Mercure and the Novotel had one swimming pool, one gym, and one specialty restaurant. And even the all-day dining was actually part of the Novotel, which a Mercure guest could access. And this combo hotel has also been done in India. We've done it at Chennai, Ibis and Novotel OMR. And I believe it's coming up in Bangalore, which Taj has signed with Bangalore airport authorities, where you will have a Ginger and a Taj coming up in the future. So the Mercure, so here you're seeing one space, it's a circular space. Again, we have a column in the middle, a round column, which we used to create seating around to make the column disappear. And this is the restaurant in the Mercure. So if I want to have a quick bite in the Mercure, this is the lobby, this is the restaurant, this is the check-in, check-out. Everything happens in this one space. How does it happen? This is the reception desk. And you can see the design elements at the top, which become a design feature as well. There are no other partitions. The seating at the bottom bring in the colors and are done in different ways, in different colors to make it interesting. You'll also see different seating. This is more a lounge, low table seating, and you'll see a high table dining seating. So on the right is actually your internet station. You can see the computer there if a guest wants a quick printout, wants to check their emails. And then you see the vending kiosk, which is done, which is in Southeast Asia. It's actually very popular. You can actually grab a salad, you can grab a juice, you can grab a cold sandwich. And this is there 24 hours, and you just tell the reception that it has to be built to your room. And then you have the quick grab and go station, which is a quick coffee from the machine, and some bakery items, which again, you can just grab and go. And on the left, you have a little more elaborate space where you could actually, where they would make your coffee if you want something special, or a juice, a smoothie. And in the night, this actually becomes a bar, and a really happening bar. And I have stayed in this hotel, so I think I came back at 11 o'clock at night because, you know, Singapore, there's enough to do to stay out till late. And the place was just buzzing. And I was like, what happened? And the crew had come in, and one of the airline crews, and they were ready to party, and they were hanging around at the bar. And it just gives something very interesting rather than, you know, coming back late at night and coming into an empty space. There was buzz in the whole lobby space. And so this is a closer view. So it's a coffee breakfast space in the daytime, and a bar in the night. And of course, in Singapore, you can have a bar right in the lobby, and it can be done in certain cities. We have done it in Mumbai at our Ibis Santa Cruz and a few more. So again, we have to check the local laws, and if it's permissible, you can actually have the bar right in the space. And these figures that you see in black is actually the artwork. So like I said, we do art in different ways. They're depicting scenes in Singapore, which is the hawkers, they also have rickshaws there, and the whole history of Singapore. And that actually goes into the room as well. So the same 18 square meters room, we had to make it look bigger. We put in a mirror. On the fabric at the back, you have imprinted the houses of how it looked like in the earlier days of Singapore. And instead of an armchair, we have a chaise lounge, and no writing desk, but a small table over here. Mostly, as you know, in Singapore, travelers are out in the city, and there's enough to do 24 hours in the city. So you don't actually have to clutter the room with a writing desk or with a lot of furniture. The Hilton Colombo residence in Sri Lanka. This is a renovation project. It's actually a very old hotel, which was a service apartment and had to be converted into rooms, so they could become standard rooms in some of them. And again, done by our partners in Singapore. So different types of rooms, and we did art, but without artwork. So this is a room where, again, we had a column. So since it was an existing building, the column actually became a divider for the space, and we put the LCD TV here, which was on a swivel. You can actually then view it from the room. The room faces a window, so there's no building across, so you get a view. And the writing desk comes in the corner, and then there's a nice armchair here to see the TV or sit by the window. And the artwork is actually a wallpaper with this lovely image of a tree and a bird. And that is it for the artwork in the room. And this is the second configuration of the room. So the layout changes. The artwork, if you can see in the corner, continues. So that is the tie back of the design in the room. And as I said earlier, that how can you do a table which doubles up as a writing desk and a dining table. So you see the table here in the room with a task chair and a longer sofa come a chaise lounge. So now we come to India, and I know I'm running out of time and I have a lot to show, so I'm going to try and speed up. This is the Courtyard Marriott at Madurai. Our team went to Madurai. It was a new place for us, so we researched. So again, connecting the guests through flow of spaces, local connect and culture, and soothing color scheme. And for the same client, we're now we're now renovating their existing hotel at Trichy, which is also going to be a Courtyard Marriott. So this is the space. Now, Madurai is famous for the Meenakshi temple, and the region is famous for exporting the jasmine flower. They're one of the largest exporters of the jasmine flower. And that is the two inspirations that we took. So you're looking, and these are actual photographs, what you're seeing of the hotel. But the hotel was built with the owner's brief, and the brand actually took over the hotel when it was 90% ready. So the brief with the owner, of course, was to build a luxury hotel, and Madurai didn't have many hotels, so they wanted to create a statement. So you're looking at the lobby, you're standing at the lobby lounge looking at the reception counter here. If you can see my cursor, at the back is actually an inspiration of the Meenakshi temple, and the temples actually form an architectural grid. So we have taken that and created it in a contemporary fashion, and that's done in stone as the backdrop of the reception counter. The lights hanging in different places in the lobby lounge and the reception are taken as the inspiration from the flower as petals. And the rug that you see in the lobby lounge here is again taken as inspiration of the jasmine flower, and it runs through in the lobby lounge and in the lobby. So these are the three aspects. And we mostly kept the color palette neutral and had very soothing tone colors. So this is another view of the lobby lounge, and this is, of course, the cafe. So again, no walls enclosing spaces, just partitions, and keeping free flow of spaces. This is the coffee shop, all-day dining. And again, the element you see here is the backdrop for the buffet counter, which works as a divider, and also dividing a semi-group seating on the right. Again, another view, open kitchen with a lot of buffet counter. This involves a lot of back and forth with the facility planner, planning the equipment and how it's coming. This underneath here is a new way of having the plates, and it's a loose and it's lit and it's different how we do it today. Sorry, again, another view. Now the lights again, as you see, give an interpretation of petals, again coming from the flower. So now I'll go to the bar very quickly. The owner gave us the brief that they wanted to do a bar, and the bar is on the first floor, and it had to have the theme of cinema. So when we started brainstorming, we said, okay, India is famous for Bollywood. It's also famous for Tollywood. There are many actors from South India who are very famous celebrities. They're also politicians. And then you have Hollywood. So how do you depict cinema in such a huge genre? And who do you put? We wanted to create like a gallery of the walk of fame in actors and actresses. And we said, oh my God, where do we start and where do we stop, and who do we put there? So the conclusion was that we had a more generic theme. And of course, we have Audrey Hepburn, we have James Bond, we have interpretations, you have a box office sign, you have a film role, and the same actually continues throughout into the spaces. And we've kept a very Art Deco flooring, black and white, so that the other colors stand out. So this space, the corridor actually turns, and it's a large corridor. And if you come up from the stairs or you come for the lift, you'll see a bit of the what we call the art gallery of cinema. And very interestingly, the owner actually named it the balcony, which was, I thought, a very nice name for this space. Coming to your city, the Radisson Bengaluru at the city center, right next to Alsur Lake. So while and this project, the owner actually inherited the building, part built 4 stories, which had to be then completed. And so we inherited a shell. We inherited all the challenges of the heights and the columns, the different sizes of the rooms, odd shapes, corner angles. And while this was coming up, the competition was coming up was the Conrad. But we decided, and of course it was the owner's brief, that it's going to be targeted at the young generation, the IT crowd, and it's going to have its own, design with that in mind. And the owner, of course, we worked with the owner. They gave us a free hand to design. Radisson took over, I think, at probably 95% when the hotel was complete. So we targeted the young generation. We had eclectic furniture, asymmetrical elements, and the different room shapes and sizes actually became the USP of the space, the design, and the marketability for the brand. This is a rendering which you're seeing. I'll first show this to you because you can see more elements. So the lights are different. You have a hanging pendant light, you have a task light. We went away from a typical side table. We have done a table which continues as a chaise lounge. It's all one piece. And you have glass to make the room look bigger. Some rooms have a great view, some rooms don't. So we wanted the room design itself to be very interesting in case the rooms which actually overlook a building, you can still feel good in your space. And this is another angle facing the writing desk. This is an actual photograph of the room. So what we also want to show you as part of the team, as part of the whole process, and this is something where everyone needs to work together, from owner to procurement agent to the project manager, to actually get the design idea into reality as close as possible to what we started with. So this is what we started with, and this is what we got very close to the whole design idea. This is another room which was larger, so became a deluxe room. We didn't want to make it claustrophobic by creating a wall. We have a semi-partition. You can see that the furniture are different pieces. We have a chaise lounge, which it's like a little rocking lounge, and not actually it's not a rocking chair, but it actually rocks. So you can have some fun there. We have these interesting pendant lights. This is a feel of the lobby. We have a very long space for the lobby, and this is behind the lobby, which becomes like a lobby lounge. It's not a large hotel in terms of the public spaces, so we created an interesting space where hotels can come and sit and spend some, where the guests can come and sit. This is the F&B space. So again, the F&B space was on the first floor and actually continues as one long and irregular space. So the buffet counter continues as part of the design. And this is the entire space. So you actually walk through the entire restaurant, and you have different zones where you can sit. Coming to the final case study, the Ibis Kolkata at Rajahat. Over here, we talk about the open
Ritu?
floors. Yes.
Yeah, probably another 2-3 minutes, and we'll take up questions.
Sure, definitely. So I'll just run you through the Ibis. We've also done the Ibis in Bangalore as well. So here we've taken the story of the local transport of the city, and which has a lot of heritage as well. We have again taken architectural elements which you see on many of the old buildings, and that is the pattern over here in the lobby. And if you are familiar with the Ibis, again, it's spaces which flow into each other. So this is the bar. The carpet has patterns which is similar to the train lines and maps of Kolkata, and similar interesting seating spaces. A lot of pop color in this space. It was a new design of an Ibis that we came up with. Again, a lot of color in the all-day dining space. In the guest room, an Ibis design is it's like a cookie cutter design, but the artwork is different in every project that we do. We've done, I think, probably around 15 across the country. So here we've taken Kanta work, if you see on the back of the headboard, and it's digitally printed on the wall. And in the next room, we've taken fish, which again is very, very, important aspect in Kolkata, both in food and in, of course, the waters around. And we've put up artwork in the corridors leading up to the lift lobby about the city and the heritage and things you see in the city. And very important are the staff areas. So again, we designed the staff cafeteria and the staff lockers, and it's very important to have interesting spaces. So this is staff cafeteria as well, with artwork digitally printed and the furniture. So that is what I have. And just in conclusion, to say that design is everywhere, and I believe that one can also design and get inspired by seeing things. So when you go to hotels, whether you go for training, whether you go as a guest, you can always observe design, observe lighting, or even in the shopping malls or in a restaurant, observe things around. And that is where one can see design and also get inspired by design. And would like to also end in a quote by Aldo Gucci, famous brand Gucci, who says, long after, sorry, just taking a moment, I wanted to get the exact words on that. Quality is remembered long after the price is forgotten. So while cost and budget is very important, but the quality of the whole process and bringing the design into reality, that quality is very important. And that is what the guest and all of us will see at the end of the day. Thank you.
Ritu, thank you so much. I think that was amazing, beautiful. I have no words.
Thank you.
And this topic is really close to my heart. So I was enjoying each and every project what you have completed, and you were showing the pictures. I think amazingly done of places. So thank you so much for those exercises and case studies what you've presented to all of us today.
Yes.
We will take few questions.
Sure.
The first question is from Professor Prakash. Do you think design should consider demand and capacity management aspect?
Demand and capacity.
Yes.
Yes, demand is, I think if you're talking about the demand of that would come in understanding your guest. So when I spoke about understanding the guest, the traveler who we are designing for, so that is the demand, and that also comes up right in the beginning in the feasibility. So as much information as is shared to the designer is important. And capacity comes into aspect when we are understanding the room sizes. So that is actually something which starts with the architect. And when the architect has to be briefed in the number of rooms. So if it's let's say 200 room hotel, and in that 200 rooms, then how many rooms standard rooms are you doing? How many suites? And we also do the room matrix along with the operator and the architect. So I hope I have understood your question. And yes, that is, we do consider that. Sorry, yeah, capacity also goes into the restaurant, because from there that the number of covers. So what is the size of the restaurant? What is the covers? And as per the rooms, how many covers do you need to justify for the guests?
Thank you, Ritu. The next question is from Professor Elangovan. For LHW, can you please share us few leading suppliers for the guest rooms?
So LHW is leading hotels of the world, right? So you are asking for the names of suppliers? So
yeah, suppliers for the guest rooms. So probably they could give those examples to students when they're taking this particular session to the class.
Okay. So we can, I mean, there are actually a huge number of suppliers. What we can do is maybe if he could, sort of reach out to me into which categories of suppliers he's looking for. I mean, you have carpets, you have fabric, you have all the equipments, and then I can share a few names of suppliers.
Absolutely. Next question is from Professor Sushil. With the present situation and considering the future, how do you think design could change, keeping in mind not very heavy inventory and investment?
Okay, so one of the things which we are seeing, there's not a major change right now in how we're designing, and looking at the pandemic in terms of it hasn't impacted the interiors as much. We are still, for the hotels that are coming up, things are continuing as planned. Where the change is happening, so the current change you may be seeing where restaurants are putting up partitions, semi-partitions, that is probably, I think, the maximum that you may see some change happening. It is not a brief that has come up from our current projects, both brand and owner run, because we're all, of course, hoping that this is something that will be sorted out soon. But where the change is there is technology. Software. A lot of hotel brands and hotels have already started considering how things can be touchless, sensor-based, how in future the guest doesn't need to check in with any paper at all. And so technology is going to play a major role. Where things have happened is for housekeeping to clean faster and to make it easier. Hotels have removed a lot of paraphernalia items from rooms, like brochures, maybe menu cards. Menu cards have gone digital. Toiletries have gone from rooms. So these are things which have been affected by the current pandemic situation. But what we foresee that these are things which will probably be impacted. So for future inventory, I think what hotels need to do, and this is something, of course, which has to come from an operator and an owner in order for us to do it, I would say is, design for what you need for that city and design spaces which are like, is it really needed? And less is more. So do we really need to clutter a lobby with a lot of furniture? Do we really need to have 3 restaurants? Does that hotel actually need a spa if the guest can actually go to a hotel next door? Maybe 2 hotels could tie up with a spa brand. Maybe you could tie up with a restaurant. So I think there are ways to have less inventory in this way. And, if it's the same brand, like I said, combo hotels do it well because they share the back of house, they share the laundry. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So the next question is from Professor Nilesh Vadmare. What exactly is a sustainable design? Have you designed new age hotels like pet-friendly hotels or children-friendly hotels, inclusive for specially able guests?
Okay, I'm going to answer that backwards. Specially able guests, always. I think it's something which is being designed, which became a rule as per the hotel government category. I remember, I think in 2000 when we were designing a restaurant, but always disabled friendly spaces. Right from the moment you enter the hotel, you have to have a ramp. Most porches are being planned without steps, but if we have to have steps, you have to have a ramp. All spaces have to be accessible by the wheelchair. Disabled friendly toilet right on the ground floor. If you have huge banqueting, also for ideally also for banquets. If it's large banqueting, definitely on the banquet floor as well. Handicap room or a disabled friendly room has to be there in every hotel. there is a ratio of 1 to, I think, every 100 rooms. But as long as you have one, that's important. Some brands insist on 1 per 100. So yes, that is something absolutely paramount. You can, I believe that the rule is that you can do levels in a second restaurant. So if I want to do a specialty restaurant with levels, or if I have a double height and I want to do a mezzanine, I can do that in a second restaurant. But in my all-day dining, I have to have a space where where a wheelchair or any disabled friendly guest can enter and sit without any ramp. So that is a norm. In terms of family-run family hotels, we did the 4 Points. Again, I think almost 8 years back. 4 Points as a brand has something called a family lounge, which is space where people can come and connect. And they have a family floor. So that floor is designed slightly different in terms of some of the furniture that we put in. And while we are cognizant of the fact that all edges are, I mean, nothing should be sharp, but in this room, any side table also, everything has to have corner, round edges in the corner. So they have something called a family floor. And I think we put in a little more color in that floor. In terms of sustainability, we would like to bring in materials as much as possible which are sustainable. And one of the ways is by sourcing locally as much as possible. Because when you source locally, we reduce the carbon footprint for the project. However, in some cases, because of the specifications of the materials, you do have to import them or get them from a different space if it's a different type of material. So we try as much as possible. And this is again part which has to work with the owner and the budget, because materials that are eco-friendly do have a higher cost to them. So we can propose them, but it's something which then has to work in the budget as well. And so we can use materials which can be reused. We always use it. I think LED lights is something we've been proposing much before it became a norm. At that time, it was very expensive, so not everyone could use it. But I remember we were proposing LED lights and daylight as much as possible. If the architect plans it in such a way that the daylight is used maximum, then we work with the lighting consultant to have the lights in such a way that you have what we call day lighting and night lighting. So in the daytime, you don't have to switch on all the lights. You may have some ambient lighting or something which has to come on an artwork. And in the night, the rest of the lighting can actually come on. So that actually has to be planned along with us, the architect and the lighting consultant.
Thank you, Ritu. I think that was very well explained. Probably we'll take last 2 questions. Have you faced any situation wherein after the handover, the hotel or the housekeeper has approached you due to the operational challenges of maintaining certain areas or materials used?
Not really. I don't think we have, I don't remember as such where we have been approached from any issue of materials. We do get feedback because there's always room for improvement. So, for example, we are doing many IBIS hotels. So when we did the first one, then there was feedback from the guests, from operations. So we incorporate that. When the first IBIS, the Novotel came up at Bangalore, so that wasn't designed by us, but it was a cookie cutter of Novotel. And a lot of times, an international brand, it's an international sort of design, right? It's more universal. So it's brought in, and then, like I said, there's certain local sensibilities, be it colors, which we get feedback on. So we were doing the Novotel Chennai after that. And so I went to Bangalore to see the Novotel, and the GM gave me feedback where we could bring it into the Chennai hotel, both from the guests and from their operating team. So that was very useful. So while we were still following the Novotel cookie cutter model, but we changed the color to bring in a little more vibrancy, because I think in India, we like to see color. Some of the feedback we get, we've got earlier and which we still get is not to use black, even though, it can do wonders sometimes as a contrast, but we believe a lot of people are still not comfortable using black in flooring or in some aspect. So we get that type of feedback.
Okay. Ritu, last question is from
Sure.
me. I just wanted to find out from you, when you're giving so much importance to the areas wherein we have the guest who's going to experience, but have you ever considered designing the practical back of the house spaces? Because employees, when they work here, they also need, that peace of mind, or they should also enjoy working in these areas. So have you ever considered these kind of requests from the hotels?
Yes, for all our IBIS hotels, we design the back of house. Where we come in is mostly for the staff related areas. I mean, I know staff uses all the areas. Like I said, I've worked in hotels and lived in hotels, so seen a lot of back of house. So while the staff uses all the areas, but I'm talking about the cafeteria and the staff lockers. So the facility planner plans the size and the space, right, as per the whole space. And then we look at the furniture or the aesthetic elements. And we've done it for all the IBIS. We do it for the brands like Novotel. We've done it in Crown Plaza I think in the Crown Plaza in Ahmedabad. Wherever the brands are there, wherever the brand or the operator owner asks us to do it, then yes, we do come in and bring the aesthetics into that space. And actually very happy that, those things are being thought through, not only from an aesthetic point of view, but also, hand wash. I mean, just very quickly, I mean, one of my new projects, there was no hand wash in the cafeteria area or nearby, and the closest toilet was actually, I think, one floor down. So we asked them, we said, you need to have a hand wash area close to the cafeteria. And of course, nowadays we get requests like something for recreation or bring in something, not just the TV, but, something where recreation, interaction can happen, or have furniture which can be moved around. So the training sessions and recreation sessions can actually happen in the cafeteria as well. So these are things which we get feedback and we try and incorporate that.
So thank you so much, Ms. Ritu. I think there are a lot of questions, and because of the time constraint, I think I will not be able to take it further. Probably Ritu has shared her contact details, and feel free to reach out to her. And I'm sure Ritu will be able to answer your queries or whatever help you need with respect to this particular topic. So Ritu, this was fantastic, beautiful, amazing. I have no words to express. As I told you, each and every moment from your first slide to your last slide, we have enjoyed and learned a lot, which we don't get to learn from any of the textbooks. And
Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us so much time and giving us those or case studies, explaining them in detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just a sorry, quick request. I think you can see our YouTube. We also have something called the TID design process. It's a 3-minute video that will also give you some insight, and you can see our work on our various social media sites as well. And do reach out to us if you have any more questions. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Lovely to connect, and all the best to the students. Look forward to seeing you in the hotels in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
Ms.
much.
Ritu.